I started talking to Sharptone about this whole thing. Like, well, what do you want to do? You got so much stuff that you never use. And it's like, I'm just going to go write new stuff.
Ghost Cult Magazine welcomes in Joshua Travis. How are you today?
I'm great. And yourself?
I'm pretty good for the end of the world. I hope not, but we have only humor to help us deflect the pain. I do hope you're well. It's been a crazy time, and I'm super stoked to talk about this new EP. But I do hope you, your family, your collaborators, everybody's in one piece as of today because it has been a dumpster fire a couple of years.
Yes, it has. I appreciate that. And same to you. Just taking everything one day at a time, man. That's like all you can really do right now?
That's it, man. We're in we're in a perpetual loop of uncertainty and madness.
Yeah.
But we have an awesome new EP. You have signed to Sharp Tone Records. You have this new EP, No Rest Out. It is all bangers, all killer, no filler.
Thank
I would
you.
expect no less. I have actually followed your career. I'm, pretty much like I think you've been in music for 20 years, and I
Hmm.
know about you for like 15 of those 20 and followed you across your different projects and bands. So this is really exciting. And I think the place that
Awesome.
I wanted to jump off with you was why a solo album now in this fashion.
Why a solo album? I guess. So I've heard numerous times people like, why don't you ever just like release your own stuff? And I've just always kind of never really like looked at it like that. It's always been kind of like, I write all of the material for all of my projects, but I like to have the inclusions from others, like even if they just, throw their spices and things into it. So I've always like driven things to be more of like a unit, and ultimately what happens is when I'm writing a record for any one of my projects, there will be an overabundance of material. And now, once we all sit and choose, what songs we're going to go with, there ends up being a what we now call the toy box that's just full of material that will never see the light of day. It's just that's what it was written for. We didn't use it, so now that's where it lives. And somebody said, "Why don't you just release this stuff?" And like, I could do that, but it feels like that material, like those works, were something that was driven for that project. So it would feel like a little strange to release that when it sounds like that project. So that doesn't really feel like that would be my solo project, even though I am the one who wrote it. It was like, geared towards something, like I was trying to kind of hone in on a specific sound. So I didn't want to just grab a bunch of stuff from, the toy box and just start throwing that out. So I figured, when, I started talking to Sharptone about this whole thing, like, well, what do you want to do? You got so much stuff that you never use. And it's like, I'm just going to go write new stuff, and kind of changed my direction. A lot of people would kind of associate me with very specific types of sounds. And I figured I'm not going to just do what everybody would expect me to do. I'm gonna change that up, a little bit, and that's basically what we went for here. And then with all the collabs on it, I didn't know where to even begin. It's kind of like, I mean, I can hear tons of different people over this stuff, so I had a lot of help with like, sitting here and choosing who we really wanted to go with for the EP, and just got lucky how all this stuff turned out, because it doesn't I don't like, in my experience, it doesn't work out like this where you get to just say, I wrote you this jam, do whatever you want. And they're like, what do you want me to do? And I'm like, I have nothing to do with what you want to do. Like, and then all the way down to the artist, where he's like, what are you feeling for this? And I said, black and red. And he's like, that that's it? And I'm like, yeah, I want you to do your thing. And like, honestly, just throwing all of the data at people and just saying, do what you do. I think you had to be really lucky for it to work out like this did, where it was just like, oh man, I didn't have to go back with anybody to do anything. It's just do what you're feeling. And I just got super lucky. Like, and now here we are.
Nice. I love that idea of the toy box. I always feel like every guitar player, especially, has like a bag of riffs I've been hanging on to for a special occasion or a special time.
Mm-hmm.
Much in the same way Prince would just record every
Yeah.
single day, and you never, leave a will, everybody. Please have your legal people and leave a will so you know
Mm-hmm.
your directives are followed when you pass. Rest in peace, Prince. But yeah, I
Yeah.
feel like that's a very good approach. And also, I love this kind of gets into something I wanted to talk about with you. So thanks for helping me with my segue. Is that
Mm-hmm.
there's a purity to what you did here with the collaborators, is that you gave them the freedom. And
Yeah.
normally that's not the case. Like I said, some of them would ask you, or maybe, the past experience has colored your experience to say like, oh, what should I do on this? As opposed to do what you want, do your thing, make it
Mm-hmm.
part of yours, which is very refreshing because, typically if it's your thing and your name goes on it, you're very hands on. So it's good
Yeah.
that you're able to let go.
I don't know honestly why there wasn't it wasn't like when I was doing this I never thought to myself I'm gonna give everybody free reign. There was never a thought. It just kind of came down to when we really decided who we were going with. Like when you have a respect for an artist or a musician before you go into any kind of collab with them, you kind of have no fear at it. It's kind of like I'm sure whatever you're going to do is going to be awesome. And so, once we really broke it all down and I knew, exactly who we're going with, and honestly, a lot of the people, honestly, all of them, I know them all, so it was kind of like, it wasn't really like I felt like I was just throwing a rock in the dark. I never felt like that, and they're all great at what they do, and they're all different styles and different facets of metal. So it was kind of like, this is just going to be interesting to just kind of see what they do. And, like I said, like, I'm probably very lucky on how this all worked out. Like you the chances of you just throwing whatever at somebody and they come back with something that's just like, well, this is done. Like it's so rare, that but like I said, there was never a fear there. And then also, like you were saying, when you're working with projects and you have producers and writers and so on and so forth, it kind of you kind of feel like there's Big Brother standing over you the whole time, kind of like, so what if you don't do that? Like I never wanted to have that vibe on myself, and so I definitely wasn't going to put that vibe on anybody else. I really wanted them to feel like free to express what it is that you're trying to express. So I just left it wide open for him. No, no, never said, all right, how about something like this in there? Or give me this vibe. Like, I didn't give them any. I was getting messages asking, what do you think of this idea? What do you think of that idea? I didn't even respond. It's like, I'm not saying anything to that. I'm not gonna say anything to that. I'm not gonna tell you anything. I'm not giving you any hints, any clues, no ideas, nothing. I want you all to just do what it feels like you should be doing. That's it.
There are no Monopoly hint
Yeah.
cards or chance cards in this game here, folks. And hopefully nobody was so oversensitive that they felt like you were ghosting.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
I
they
asked
didn't.
him for
They
some
didn't.
guidance. And
Yeah,
hopefully nobody,
I would respond with LOLs. Ha ha ha.
nice
Yep.
anxiety mosquito from
Mhm.
uh, Big Mouth and now Human
Mhm.
Resources on Netflix for those watching. And yeah, if you want to, let's just kind of quickly run down the track listing, and you can give any sort of thoughts, feelings, sort of now after the fact feelings now that it's out, and on the tracks and the collaborators chosen for each, if that's cool.
Mhm. Sure.
Very cool. We'll start with Web of Lies, the banger track that opens this thing.
So that was an easy one. Like I know as far as the entire body of work is concerned, I knew what I wanted the construct to feel like. I wanted it to, like, initially I wanted it to feel like the doors got kicked open. But that was where I wanted that to stop. I wanted track one to just kick the freaking doors open, and then now it's like you're seeing chaos, like, and whether it be doors kicked open into a building, doors kicked open into the wilderness, like whatever it is you want it to be. But I wanted it to feel like the doors just got kicked open, and then just ferocity, just what is happening, but then try to figure out how to contain it dial it back, open it up again, dial it back again, like take you almost like on a journey, but I didn't want it to go over the top. I wanted it to just be just right there, just bam. Okay, what's happening? And I've already done multiple tracks with Andy, and he has this sonic range that anything I throw at him, he just knows what to do with it all the time. And so I I felt like it was perfect to start this whole thing with him. Like he's like, my like the pole position. Like I wanted him to kick the doors open, and again because that range, the sound that he projects, it was just like it seemed perfect to just start jarring everything, and then he takes it all the way to like these different like kind of singing screaming parts, but not much, just a little, just enough that people are like, oh man, I wish you would have done that again. No, I'm not going to do it again, not right now. That's how I wanted that to be, just enough that it was like, oh, what was that? And again, I didn't tell him to do that. That's just what he was hearing and what he did. It was like it's just perfect. So we really made like that impact was what I really was hoping for with Andy's track. So that's how that one worked out.
Yeah, killer, man. I love that. It's like the bedroom mosh track, man. You're gonna hurt
Hmm.
break some furniture up in your house putting that
Yep.
thing on repeat. Leviathan is the second track here on the EP, and it's as heavy as the name Leviathan is for sure.
Also, another one of these tracks where like we're working with Rio. This first time I got to work with him like that, but touring with Crystal Lake, like just awesome band, like awesome people, like just all around great vibes. And also getting to work with Chad, which I've already got previous work with Chad and I. That was the first band I was ever in. Like that was my first band. So Rio did the track up to that spot, and it was like perfect so that I could get Chad on the back end of this track, and then they come together to end the track. It was just that, but you'll notice there's a major turning point from track 1 to track 2. Like the sound just everything becomes like as aggressive and heavy as Web of Lies is. Track 2 turns it where now it's like we kick the doors open, and now we have a ball and chain effect. So now you'll notice like from track 2 to track 3 to track 4, there's this momentum that holds the whole time between all of those tracks. So with this one, I feel like Rio was using his voice in different ways, like ways that you don't necessarily hear Crystal Lake doing very much. So it was like they and then mixing the two of them together, it's like polar opposites. Like Rio is like here to here, and Chad was like right here. So it's like we just have all of it like put together, and now it's not so much like it's not the same type of heavy as Web of Lies was. It's like a more like traditional kind of hardcore-ish, kind of new metal-ish type of a vibe, just like with massive amounts of intensity. Not really like tech at all, just because that's not. I've already done that. Like I don't want to sit here and just keep doing that the same stuff over and over. So I wanted to really flip it all up, and like the way that Leviathan works is in a lot of like hip hop and rap nowadays. They almost take these songs and split them into multiple songs. They have like one song, and then out of nowhere, boop, the track is just completely changed. Now it's like a different track. Now I didn't want to shift it that hard, but I wanted to create that. So you'll notice when Chad comes in, the entire track just flips until now it's like this more like a locomotive feel where it's like kind of trudging, and then bringing them both together to wrap the whole thing back up, even with such a wild flip like that. It's just like so much fun, like messing with material like this. It's been crazy because like if you say 15 years ago, that would have been like no. That's when Big Brother's like, this part's not gonna work. That's what this part would be, and that was just kind of like me saying, no, it's gonna work. Watch it. Watch. It's gonna work. We're gonna make it work. And that's
Right
how that
on.
one. That's how that one came about.
I think with a kind of career you're putting down, your fans are willing to take chances with you. They know with your name on it and your pedigree and things you already have done are doing, they're coming on a journey with you and they're willing to go where you take them, which is lucky that you've crafted that kind of relationship. Also, I just want to say Crystal Lake, perpetually underrated band, super underrated.
Yeah.
There are diehard fans, and then there's everybody else that's like, "What's this band?"
Hmm.
A lot of more people should know about that band. That's my personal
Yeah.
take.
Oh, they are unbelievable.
Yeah.
Very unbelievable. And not just like, oh, they're a heavy band. Like, no, 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 no. They are a sick band. Like, they are really good at what they do. Like,
Mm,
really good. I 100% agree with you. 100%.
right on. Disdain is the third track.
Disdain is the highest of octane because when track 3, we are now at the peak, of the movement here. We have now ramped to the middle of this thing. So this is like, for me, this was like the point where I needed it to be the most amount of fire happening. This is it. So this one has like a different vibe to it, a different feel to it. There's a lot of things where a lot of bands or producers or whatever, they like to go kick, snare. And on this was like, nope, that's not the motion I want. I want snare, 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 snare. I want this to be massive impact all the time, all the time, all the time. And like Jamie has just such a unique voice. Jamie has like a very kind of old school hardcore type of a voice. And like, it's not like super low and like super guttural. He has like the perfect voice for high intensity. And like high intensity, like, kind of faster type stuff. He has like the perfect voice. And then when you mix Jake and with him, it's like they just work like a well-oiled machine together. Like they're just like so like they complement each other. Like there was parts in this song vocally where they're like splitting the lyrics up, and like, Jake will just be holding on to this part while Jamie's doing the whole phrase. And when I was first hearing this, I'm like, what is going on? And I'm like, no, this is definitely supposed to be like this. When the tonalities are so different, they're just so unique. And the way that they did the track, and again, going back to like now bringing this like screaming yet singing type of like melodic pieces to a song like this. I don't even understand where they came up with the ideas to do this stuff over this track. It's crazy to me how they did this. And like phrasing is such an important thing to me. And like the rhythms of what these lyrics are, they're so important. And I think they just couldn't have nailed it any harder than that. Like when I first got the track, loaded everything up, and I'm just listening back to it, I'm like, you gotta be kidding me right now. Like it wasn't like I ever told them like, yo, they didn't know where their track was gonna be on this. I knew that it was gonna be right in the middle. I knew that. And when I get it back and it's like this. Okay, well, they did it, and that's why I can't express enough how lucky I am the way that this all worked. So now, when you realize we are at the peak of this whole thing, of this storm, this is the most ferocity here. To move forward, now we got to shift the vibe, and that's when we come to parallel.
Yes, exactly. Go right ahead. Don't let me stop
so,
the train.
so Jake, man, all of this is crazy. Like I haven't really spent much time just like thinking about the EP now that it's done, now that it's out, people can check it out. Like I just the other day, like I actually sat and kind of picked it apart myself, like if I wanted to just really pay attention to just the vocals. So I did that, and I was listening in parallel, and it was like, since I have the lyrics here, I'm just again, watching, reading, listening, feeling, and the whole vibe of what he put into that song is just heavy. Not like this is brutal, but like heavy lyrically and emotionally. It's just a very deep, very heavy track. Very like it's a lot. It's a lot if you actually take the time to like dive into the lyrics there. it the shift that needed to happen, he just did it and like took it to a different place. But I have to rewind because Disdain is not like some happy song, let's hold hands and walk around in the park. Like lyrically, it's like they just oh man, I don't know how they did it, but it's like they walked all of this hand in hand. And especially lyrically, like that, it's not like they called each other like, okay, we're gonna try to gear this like this. They just did it, you know. And then now moving to Parallel, Jake just went crazy. Like he just went so in on this, and you know, again, like I'm talking about the vibe change, like right around like the middle of the song, everything snaps, and then it's just like now you have an angel out of nowhere singing these like hymns or something, and now it doesn't stop because you still have all of this now unison, like I don't even know what you call it, like these just blasts, just but you have this other, it's like a light, the tiniest light with all of this darkness and like still somehow contained chaos in there. And then it just walks out. It just keeps now that we've cut down, now we have this angelic voice, and now we still have the ferocity here, but it's now a little more contained. Now it gets a little more wild. Now it gets to the biggest point, and then it just stops. So now we have now gone from kicking the doors open into wildness, shifting of vibes into the peak of fire. Now we're switching the vibes again, and it's all got this crazy tension about it. And now we have this angelic voice, and everything's still in chaos but controlled. But now we're getting wild again, and now it stops, and then we go into all out war. And yeah, I don't. That one is just like, it's like to me, All Out War is like the aftermath, which is when you listen to it all the way up to the end of the song, it's like fading away. The music is fading away up to the very end, and you hear like this kind of like a choir singing like the melody at the end of it, where it's almost like you're like looking at this aftermath, but it never. The one thing that I honestly don't do, which I should probably do at some points, but I never close the door. I don't ever do that. I like to leave things like, so what happens next? You know, so basically at the end of the EP, there's a to be continued that you just don't see, you know, but again, you know, lyrically, it's just all of these features. I cannot stress the amount of how lucky I am to have gotten all of these people to feature on this, and that they did what they did. It's just, you don't get this lucky, man. You just don't get this lucky. I don't know how I did. I don't know.
Nicely done and well said. I think part of it is you put out a really great vibe and energy yourself, and people want to work with you based on the music you make. But also, I think it says a lot about you as a person, not just the producer, but the person you are. That they also want to work with you. So we also get lucky getting this music from you and your peers. I do think that All Out War is a great bookend to the EP, and it's on a journey for sure. I
Yeah.
know a lot of technical music and a lot of progressive music and a lot of deathcore and a lot of these subgenre labels get a bad rap that there's no journey in the music like other things, because other music nerds are pretentious about what they love, but I feel like there's a journey here which is really satisfying personally.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it was kind of scary doing this whole thing with the production that I really wanted to do, because it's not the norm. It's not. I didn't want to go for that polished, kind of produced slash overproduced cinematic sound. Like I didn't really want that. I wanted this to feel raw. I wanted it to feel like kind of wrong sometimes. You know, like if you grew up on metal, like especially from early '90s up to maybe 2000, there metal had a different sound, and it was like very much real. Like you could tell that there was people playing everything that you're hearing, and because we didn't have a lot of the tools then that we do now, so we actually had to get up in there. We had to track the stuff, and we couldn't always rely on like Pro Tools to beat detect everything. Like you just had to play it well, and so I like to keep that in mind in any project that I do. For me personally, I don't edit guitars just because that's not what I did. I like to keep it as true as possible. Like if I need to cut some silence or something like that for like an effect, that's one thing. But like sitting there and gritting notes and like, you know, pushing guitar picks to whatever, like get out of here. Like just press record and like whatever it ends up being is whatever it ends up being. Like generally I give myself 2 passes. The first one, I just go for it. The second one, I pay attention. But the first one is generally the one I take because that's when I'm free. That's when I'm like, I don't care what happens. Like honestly, if you listen to any record I've ever put out, that I have anything to do with, if you really listen to the guitars, you will hear mistakes because I am human and I'm not about editing. Like that's not my thing. If you come see us live, I can assure you I'm going to mess up. I can assure you. Like, there will be points where I just stop playing because I'm high-fiving somebody if I can reach them. Like, I do that. Like, that's what I do. I'm not a machine. I'm a human, too. So I just like to keep things as true to what it should be. And, like, same thing with, like, tracking the drums on it. Like, I hadn't played drums in, I don't even know how many years. And since I had to track the drums on the EP, when I got in there, we got everything set up, got drum tones dialed in, and I'm tracking Web of Lies, and Josh is screaming at me in the talkback like, play louder. I'm like, dude, I'm playing as hard as I can. And he's like, no, play louder. It was like, it was real. Like, everything about it was real. Like, you hopefully it translates because that's what we were going for, was like everything is clipping everywhere, everything. Like back in the day, music used to, like metal used to be dangerous. It was just like you never knew what it was going to sound like, what it was going to be like, and like that's what I'm always going for. It's like that classic sound. That's not even a sound anymore. It's not even current anymore, but a lot of people that are listening to this stuff now, they're like, why does this stuff sound like this? It's like, because it wasn't done like how you do it, basically like a digital record. It's not done like that, all the way down to like, we mastered this whole thing to tape. It's like, it's just not done, the same way, like just being 100% in the box. It's not like that. So it sounds like that, and it also everything is hissing and humming because everything is red. Everything is in the red. Everything, So that's
Nice,
what
the
we're
danger
going for.
zone.
Yes, 100%. Yeah.
Joshua is in the danger zone. Just as we wrap this up, I imagine that just for an artist like you, your inbox, your text messages are overflowing with requests for features, produce my tracks, jump on this record with me. Like, how do you manage all of that? Lessons. How do you manage all these requests coming in, and how do you sort of weed them out for success?
Um, Generally, I don't really spend any amount of time in my inboxes. I just don't. Like, the best way to catch me is like literally catching me like this. So if you ever see me go live anywhere, that's where you go. Like inboxing, it's not the way. Like yeah, my inboxes are whatever. Like there's just too much happening there, and a lot of it is like probably spam and like who knows what. But like I spend a lot of time streaming on Twitch, and if you ever want to actually sit and just talk like this, like I talk to everybody who is ever in my streams. Or if you see me on Instagram live, you see me on Facebook live, YouTube, like any of it, that's where you want to go. That's where you want to talk to me, because this is like way more personable than like you just send in a message to whoever, whatever. And there's like actually spam folders that a lot of that stuff goes to. I'm not checking that. I'm not looking in the spam folder. No, I'm not going to do it. But like, I imagine now that I can't really say I'm going to have a whole lot of time freed up now, because now that No Rest is out, now all of my focus shifts to the new Emmure record. So it's called No Rest for a reason, like, because it's just it's never ending, you know. And then once that's done, then Emmure goes back out, and then once we have downtime, then I go back to my stuff, and then we go back out, and then who knows how it goes. But I think that I've taken on 5 projects in the last 2 years, which is not much at all. But I put a lot of energy into the projects that I do work on. So I don't want to just sit here and be like, ah, yeah, give me 35 projects. We'll just do all these. Like, nah, I'd rather like really put the time and the love and the energy into something rather than just take on a bunch of stuff. So, but yeah, like catching me like my stream like on Twitch, that's the best place to find me because I'm there the most often. So if you really, wanted to contact me, do it in real time. That's the way to do it.
All right, we like that. We're gonna link everything in the description. No Rest is the Banger EP out now. Joshua Travis, so good to see you. Thank you so much for sharing your story and your process with Ghost Cult and our fans. We really
Absolutely.
appreciate it, man. Anything we can do to help support, and we look forward to your, continued success and your work on the new record.
I appreciate that. Thank you for having me too. Appreciate it.